Good evening. My name is Tricia Crowley of the League of Women Voters of Champaign County. On behalf of the League of Women Voters, the NAACP, and the IMC, I welcome you to tonight's candidate forum. This forum is for the Democratic primary election of February 21, 2025, for the office of mayor of the city of Urbana. This forum will be available on votechampaign.org, which is the League's candidate guide, and also on the League's YouTube channel, links for both which can be found on the League's website. The forum will also be available on UPTV's YouTube page, which can be found on the City of Urbana's website. So if you don't catch all the ins and outs tonight, you can look at it again. I urge your friends to review the recording as well. I'll be the moderator for this forum. Artis James and Ralph Trimble will be our timekeepers. Questions were solicited online to be sent to the League's candidate forum email address. For this forum, we received 90 questions. We only likely get to 10 or 11. For this reason, the question sorters have combined some of the citizens' questions to be able to cover as many topics as possible. Therefore, even if your question is asked, it's possible it won't be in the form you submitted it. Also, since online questions were given preference and more were submitted than we can get to, no questions will be received from the audience tonight. The order for the candidates is alphabetical. Therefore, Annie Adams will open and DeShawn Williams will close. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement, and then I will ask questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the questions, and at the end, each candidate will have 2 minutes for closing. Candidates will kindly refrain from negative attacks on the other candidate and will speak only to what they plan to do if they are elected to office. And so let's begin. We're going to begin with an opening statement. And so, Ms. Adams, would you like to open for 2 minutes?
Absolutely. Hello, my name is Annie Adams, and I'm running for mayor of Urbana. I want to thank the League of Women Voters, the IMC, and NAACP for hosting this forum. I also appreciate my opponent for participating, and I'm especially grateful to the Urbana Fire Department for assisting with tonight's event. I'm pretty familiar with this room. I've presented to City Council for nearly 10 years, beginning with Imbibe Urbana, when my co-founder Kristen Walters and I proposed Urbana First Fridays and the Mistletoe Market downtown. We brought thousands of people downtown, and I got a crash course on how to get things done in city government. I've served for 8 years on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, advocating for safe streets. I've worked alongside city leaders and helped secure millions of dollars in grants to improve our roads, sidewalks, and bike paths. I believe that democracy thrives when we have open, honest discussions about the future of our city. Urbana is a diverse and dynamic place, and our leadership should embrace a variety of perspectives. In many ways, Urbana reminds me of my own family. My parents were teachers, and they adopted my siblings from around the world. I grew up in a household that embraced different cultures and ideas, just as Urbana does. That's why I'm running for mayor, to build a safe, affordable, and connected Urbana. Safe neighborhoods where everyone feels secure, affordable housing options for all income levels, connected, safe streets, sidewalks, and public spaces that bring our community together. I envision an Urbana that works for all of us. Thank you.
And Mr. Williams.
I'd like to first thank the League of Women Voters, the NAACP, and the IMC for bringing this forum to our community. I, too, want to thank my opponent for taking the time out of her busy schedule to be here with us as well. For the last 4 years, I have served our community as the Chief Deputy Treasurer for Champaign County, where my office oversees the stewardship of over $140 million of our taxpayer funds. Prior to that, I served over 16 years in the financial industry, in which I held almost every office there was within the bank, most recently as Vice President of Retail. One of the things I am most proud of is the work I did to help small businesses in our community get up and running. My heart for our youth that goes without saying. I've been able to connect my business and financial acumen with our community's youth through a youth entrepreneurship program called Kids Biz. I have also spent time as a one-to-one mentor and taught financial literacy and life skills to our at-risk youth through Novak Academy. You see, I believe in the importance of education, which is why I serve as the treasurer of the CU Schools Foundation, which we provide financial support and resources to our teachers within USD 116 and Unit 4 school districts. Last but not least, I am the husband to my beautiful wife, Tracy, and father to our two amazing children, Austin and Skylar. Skylar is gone somewhere else. But all of which are products of Urbana School District. I love our city, and it's an honor to have the opportunity to serve you all in this capacity. So I appreciate you, and let's get to it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Williams. For the first question, Ms. Adams, how might you balance the desire to maintain the historical nature of Urbana with creating affordable housing? And what specifically are your plans for increasing affordable housing?
So each neighborhood should remain and allow themselves to have their own personalities. So the historical neighborhood should be allowed to remain historical. I would like to increase affordable housing, though, and I would like to make sure that our transportation corridors are allowed to have more dense housing. I would also like to make sure that we had more housing in our empty lots that are in our downtown area, and I would like to make sure that we have people are allowed to have a choice of where they live, with whom they live, how they live, and how much money they spend on where they live. And I just want to also shout out to 200 South Vine, which is right next door here, which has been an incredibly successful housing, and I would like more housing like that in our city.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Mr. Williams, you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
How might you balance the desire to maintain the historical nature of Urbana with creating affordable housing? And what specifically are your plans for increasing affordable housing?
Sure. You know, we first need to understand what affordable housing is, you know, in our city. You know, typically that's defined as, you know, costing no more than 30%, you know, of a household's income. And you know, I want us to understand, too, that goes beyond just rental housing, right? You know, one thing for me as mayor, you know, I do want to put an emphasis on home ownership and ensuring that becomes affordable for folks as well. You know, through some of those initiatives, we will, you know, plan to relaunch the Urbana First Time Home Buyers Program. We're going to provide financial literacy and credit coaching to individuals wanting to seeking new housing and things of that nature. But, you know, as far as the development and things of that nature is concerned, we need to ensure that we're, you know, that we're reaching out to the community members to ensure that we don't, you know, impact the lifelong, you know, members of those communities as well. So.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams, first on the next question. We, the American Civil Liberties Union of Champaign County, recently endorsed a proposed ordinance that would require a public process to review and approve police surveillance technology. The ACU maintains that legally enforceable safeguards, including robust transparency, oversight, and accountability, must be in place to protect civil rights and civil liberties. Do you support requiring a public process, including city council approval for police surveillance technology? And do you support requiring the Urbana Police Department to produce an annual report on the use of surveillance technology?
The short answer is yes, right? You know, I had this conversation, you know, with Chief Boone over a year ago, you know, and he asked very similar questions, you know, that I would ask, right? Is it constitutional and legal? Do we have the moral obligation to use whatever technology is being presented? And do we have the support from city government and the community, right? I think that in regards to, you know, what the people are, what they are recommending. It's simply just a matter of us ensuring that we cross our T's and dot our I's, right? That we provide the transparency needed, to allow for the community to gain that trust, with our police department and our city government again.
Thank you. Ms. Adams, do you want me to repeat the question? The American Civil Liberties Union recently endorsed a proposed ordinance to require a public process to review and approve police surveillance technology. And I'm going to skip part of this and go directly to, do you support requiring a public process including city council approval for police surveillance technology? Do you support requiring the Urbana Police Department to produce an annual report on the use of surveillance technology?
So the short answer is, of course, I'm always happy when people put things forth on city council. This ordinance that was put forth would have stopped folks from being allowed to, the police, frankly, to have stopped folks from even being able to check license plates. So it went a little too far, and it would be good if we could have, if the staff had had time to review the ordinance before it was presented to city council. It would have been good if our police force had been allowed to review it before it went to city council. I feel that it needs additional review. I as well am very interested in making sure we hear community feedback and making sure that we have guardrails, accountability, and we protect our civil liberties and rights in all matters such as this.
Thank you. Ms. Adams, the City of Urbana and the Urbana Police Department, in collaboration with a national consulting firm, recently conducted a comprehensive evaluation of Urbana's public safety delivery model. The recommendations for UPD included hiring more sworn police officers, considering alternative response options utilizing non-armed mental health professionals, and strengthening Urbana's Civilian Police Review Board. Please share your views of these specific recommendations related to the Urbana Police Department.
Currently, one of the problems that we are facing in the Urbana Police Department is we have 3 to 4 officers on duty at any time. They are responding to 26,000 calls for service a year. 52% of those are domestic. So yes, I am in favor of the alternative task force. Our police officers are going to houses 6 times, giving people a green sheet of paper that they don't know, what is that stressed out house going to do with that green sheet of paper? We need to do more wraparound services. We need to connect our police officers to alternative services that will allow other people to go to those houses than our police officers. Did I answer? Was I missing something?
Strengthening Urbana's Civilian Police Review Board.
Absolutely, let's do that. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, do you want me to repeat the question?
I'm so sorry to ask you to do that.
No, that's okay. These questions are very long because we just had to put more and more stuff in them to cover issues. So there was a comprehensive evaluation of Urbana's public safety delivery model and recommending hiring more police officers, considering alternative response options, utilizing non-armed mental health professionals, and strengthening Urbana's Civilian Review Board. So can you comment on those recommendations?
Yeah. Listen, as mayor, it's important to ensure that that our departments are staffed appropriately, right? Again, I spoke with Chief, over a year ago, and we talked about this and said, let's hire the minimum amount needed to ensure that we protect our community, and then we can take the time to assess the effects of the alternative response task force, right? And depending on those results, we can incrementally grow, the needs of our department, but more importantly, our community, right? That's the focus, our community. I have to say, we're not unique in the fact that our department is understaffed, right? That's a nationwide issue. It's important for us to ensure that we are getting into the communities to change folks' mindsets and their hearts so that they're not put in a position to have to commit crimes and such. And that's where I am wanting to, ensure that we focus a lot of our time and efforts in. As far as the community, the review board, absolutely. We again, need that transparency. The timer went off. Sorry, guys. We can finish that later. I'll be in the hall.
Okay. All right. Mr. Williams, in what specific ways might you work with the Urbana School District to help improve academic achievement for all? And would you continue the mayoral recognition program?
I'll answer the last part first. Absolutely, we will continue the mayoral recognition program. I attribute that to Ms. Kenita Fay, for bringing that to the community. We will absolutely encourage that. But I often say, even with that program, right, 85%, of those students, that are receiving these acknowledgments, they need nothing more from us than a congratulations letter of recommendation, right? There's another 15% out in the community who is struggling, right? I met with a group of at-risk youth that, from the ages 11 to 17, that 11-year-old didn't want to participate, right? And I find out afterwards it was due to the fact that he couldn't read or write. Right, so he's overcompensating the lack of, from an educational standpoint, with being a tough guy in the community, right? So we will need to ensure that we focus our attention and our priorities on our youth and the development to keep them engaged and active in a positive light.
Ms. Adams, in what specific ways might you work with the Urbana School District to help improve academic achievement for all, and would you continue the mayoral recognition program?
So one of the problems I feel a lot of our youth feel is that they are not connected to our community. And I would definitely like to figure out ways to increase academic achievement. I am interested in engaging high school age residents and family by starting a teen council. I would also I'd very much like to continue the mayoral recognition program, which asks our students to do at least 30 hours of volunteer work. And another thing that I think would help with academic achievement is continuing with the school resource officers. This allows our students a space where they can go talk to somebody, or if they are experiencing something uncomfortable in their homes, they would have someone that they could talk to, and it helps keep our schools safe.
Thank you. Ms. Adams, given that Urbana's Central Business District has many large empty lots, will you commit to prioritize development and infill in the city center over redevelopment of residential neighborhoods? And do you have a plan for residential neighborhoods?
So vacant lots in our downtown, I would definitely like to fill our vacant lots in our downtown. We do have some calls out right now for proposals, and I'm very excited, and I'm hoping that we can get some folks interested that are viable. I'm interested in also growing our transportation corridors. I'm also interested in, as I've said, retaining the neighborhood characteristics. For single-family homes, construction costs are skyrocketing. I think we're all aware of that. There's a large decrease in the supply of homes for first-time home buyers. I would definitely like to continue Urbana's enterprise zone and incentivize new homes. And it's very important to make sure that we have affordable living for everybody in our city. And that is one of the core values that I have, is allow people to live how they want to live, where they want to live, and that they can afford to purchase the home that they wish to live in if that is something they would like to do.
Mr. Williams, given that Urbana's Central Business District has many large empty lots, will you commit to prioritize development and infill in the city center over redevelopment of residential neighborhoods? And the second part is, do you have a plan for residential development?
That's a good question. As far as the new development and things of that nature is concerned, yes, I would support it, especially considering, that it's, in the properly zoned, space for new development. But, my concern is actually the percentage of properties owned, by folks who live outside of the county. Understanding that 2/3 of housing, in Urbana right now it's rental. So yes, I support new development, of land, that's zoned for it, but we have to ensure that we are not removing, as I said earlier, the integrity, of the neighborhoods, that are directly impacting the lifelong residents. We have to understand when we are looking at new development, it's not a one-size-fits-all. And, as far as I'm concerned, we will ensure that we seek community input because at the end of the day, they are the experts in their neighborhood. So that's the way we will move forward in that regard.
Mr. Williams, what in your professional or personal background has prepared you for this leadership role? And for instance, what direct experience have you had with municipal government, working with law enforcement, zoning, responding to the needs of marginalized citizens, and responding to citizens' concern, or managing staff? Lots of things in there if you want me to repeat it. Yeah.
So here's the thing, my current role, right now is in county government. I'm the chief deputy treasurer for Champaign County, right? So that puts me in direct line of fire sometimes, with the ins and outs of both municipal and county government in itself, right? But prior to that, as I mentioned in my intro, I was vice president of retail for Busey Bank. I try not to say the name, but for Busey Bank. But, I oversaw multiple locations with a number of staff that I, was responsible for, the development and the management of, and that has been, that's been the core of my professional surroundings. Even now, with my staff, I have an amazing staff, within the county building, and it's allowed for us to, get to this point that we are here currently. I've served and I currently serve on multiple boards and commissions within the community as well that I'll finish that again in the hallway.
Ms. Adams, what in your professional or personal background has prepared you to be in this leadership role? For instance, direct experience with Urbana or other municipal government, zoning, working with law enforcement, or responding to the needs of marginalized citizens, responding to citizens' concerns, or managing staff?
So the mayor is a leadership role, and the mayor is the chief executive officer. The mayor will have 16 executive leadership positions that they oversee, and they will be managing budgets, safety, housing, infrastructure, and the sustainability of our city. I have spent 8 years on the Urbana Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Commission, and that deals with budgets, that deals with the city, that deals with figuring out how government works. It deals with trying to figure out how do you get grants, where does the money come from, who's paying for what. I have managed when I was a much younger person, I'm about 20 years older than Mr. Williams. When I was a much younger person, I look great, he said, yeah. I'll take it. I managed a warehouse. I've done accounts receivable, accounts payable. I've had a wide variety of jobs throughout my life, which I think makes me a very good candidate for this position.
Thank you. Ms. Adams, what will you do to protect the legal rights of immigrants in Urbana, both those here legally and the undocumented, and how will you balance this obligation against the threat of prosecution and lost federal funding?
That is a great question. We have one of the things about Urbana that's good to know is 1 in 5 Urbana residents is an immigrant. They are rightfully concerned about the current administration and the threats that the current administration has made. What I would really like to send the message home is, please remain calm. Do not make any sudden changes. The Urbana Police Department will not, cannot, it is state law, ask about your immigration status. We are a welcoming city. You are safe here. And as a city, we need to make sure that we care for one another and that we move forward together in a powerful and united way.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, what will you do to protect the legal rights of immigrants, those here both legally and undocumented, and how will you balance this obligation against the threat of prosecution and lost federal funding?
Thank you to whoever asked that question, especially considering the time that we're in now. I have no intent, obviously on breaking, the law, but I will say under my leadership, we will protect our immigrant brothers and sisters. I am of the belief that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. supremacy of any kind will not be tolerated. You know, and as mayor, you know, I'll be honest with you, if I get notified of unjust behavior of any kind, folks will be held accountable. And that's just, it's very simple, you know, in that regard. We will absolutely do everything in our power to ensure that we protect our immigrant brothers and sisters.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, this is a question concerning discrimination, but it has two different parts, so if you could address both. On January 9th this year, a trans woman was found dead in an Urbana park from hypothermia. According to reports, she avoided shelters because of harassment. What will you do to support the trans community? And a second part, what are your plans to address the marked increase in anti-Palestinian, anti-Arab, and anti-Muslim hate in our community?
I will absolutely support the trans community. There's no question about that. You know, again, it goes back to what I said. You know, we will protect our brothers and sisters within this community. There's no in between, right? You know, again, as I said, you know, even earlier, you know, as far as the second portion, right? Supremacy of any kind will not be tolerated in our city. You know, I can tell, you know, my kid's pediatrician, you know, is of Palestinian descent, right? My godmother, you know, who is one of my favorite people in the world, is a fair-skinned Jewish woman. You know, so we have to understand that locally, you know, as far as our community is concerned, community support, peaceful dialogue, and empathy goes a long way, you know, in bridging the divides, you know, within our community. And that is something that I know for a fact that we can control locally here. So, again, we will ensure that we protect our brothers and sisters within our community.
Okay, Ms. Adams. This is a question with two parts concerning discrimination. On January 9th this year, a trans woman was found dead in an Urbana park from hypothermia. According to reports, she avoided shelters because of harassment. What will you do to support the trans community? And second, what are your plans to address the marked increase in anti-Palestinian, anti-Arab, and anti-Muslim hate in our community?
One of the problems a lot of people face if they are trans is their family rejects them. There's a young lady in my life whose family has rejected her, and it's very hard to see and it's very hard to experience because there is nothing wrong with her. And that would be the first thing I would like to say. There is nothing wrong with you. We are all different in our own special way, and we should all be welcomed and accepted to be exactly who we are. The second thing is anti-Muslim, anti-Palestinian, anti-Jewish. None of it is acceptable. We, in the next 4 years, are going to have to act together. We are going to have to come together. Everyone, regardless of your race, gender, age, income, sexuality, immigration status, should feel secure in Urbana.
Thank you. Ms. Adams, many companies and the federal government are removing DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Do you plan to change any DEI programs and processes in Urbana?
So I work at the University of Illinois, and this has been an ongoing discussion, honestly, for many years. We've been seeing this come down the pipeline for many years. And we have talked about it, and we have tried to address it in the best way that we can. I would like to reiterate, though, that the best way to approach these problems at this moment is to remain calm and to not make any changes. We should definitely be encouraging diversity, equity, and inclusion. We should be broadening participation for everybody. We should make sure in our hiring practices that we are hiring equitably. We should integrate racial equity in everything the city does, from housing to transportation to social health and the environment.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, many companies and the federal government are removing DEI programs. Do you plan any change to any DEI programs and processes in Urbana?
Sure. Well, you know, honestly, me being someone that knows exactly, knows firsthand experience what it feels like to be considered unqualified due to the color of my skin, I know what that feels like. So as far as I'm concerned, I will ensure that we not just, it's not just enough to say that we want diversity, right? It's not just enough to say that we want these things in the workplace. We have to actively engage and go where diverse candidates are, right? And so as far as I'm concerned, that is absolutely something that we will prioritize, and ensuring that we are leading the way. That's going to be the thing. The city of Urbana will be leaders in everything that we do, specifically and especially in regards to DEI, and ensure that we don't allow for the federal government to dictate how we move as far as the city is concerned.
Mr. Williams, the Urbana budget is growing faster than the tax revenues. How will you approach this problem when pursuing new projects that you want to support? And are lower property taxes any part of this plan?
That's a great question. Listen, I want to make something, clear kind of right out the gate. All right, the mayor can't necessarily lower property taxes, right, without cutting a bunch of services, and I don't think that anyone in here wants that to take place. More sales revenue is one of the only true ways, that we can, ensure that we're lowering property taxes. So we have to really truly get serious about the development of our spaces, right? Philo Road, Business District, High Cross Road, Lincoln Ave, and even Cunningham. We have to actively seek and engage new businesses. And truthfully, my banking experience has allowed for me to know what it takes to not only get a business up and running, but to understand how to ensure that it's sustainable and that it grows, which I think that will, in return, answer our question.
Thank you. Ms. Adams, the Urbana budget is growing faster than its tax revenues. How will you approach this problem when pursuing new projects that you want to support? And are lower property taxes any part of your plan?
So one of the things that we need to be aware of is that in 1970, the city of Urbana was 6 square miles with 34,000 people. Right now, in 2020, it's 12 square miles with 38,000 people. And currently, 31% of our properties are off the tax rolls. They are tax exempt. So that is one thing that we have to be very aware of. In addition, the Urbana budget is very small. It's about $83 million. So that is another thing we have to be aware of. I would love to lower property taxes. The way we could lower, the city of Urbana has not raised property taxes in 8 years. One way we could lower property taxes was by increasing our population, because we have doubled our land mass, which increases the amount of infrastructure that we have to take care of. So we're now trying to take care of 12 square miles with an additional 4,000 people. So we need to increase the number of businesses that are here and the number of people that are living here.
Thank you. Ms. Adams, family support services, mental health, domestic violence prevention, substance abuse, and trauma recovery are vital for community well-being. What are your plans to either increase funding for family service agencies, particularly those serving Black and underrepresented populations? And do you have any plans to increase funding for Black-led organizations?
I think, again, we have to look at the city budget, and we have to understand that the city budget shares money with a wide variety of resources. So the city did give $10 million of ARPA COVID relief funds, which are now no longer accessible to us. Well, they're still being doled out for a little bit of time. But we did give money to increase, we gave about $10 million to a wide variety of projects in the city. So going forward, we're going to have to be fiscally conservative and try to figure out how we're going to proceed to take care of these different items in our community. In addition, though, I do think that it will be part of the alternative task force to make sure that these different organizations are funded and that they're functional and that they are successful. I cannot tell you today how I would make that plan, but it's definitely something we need to be aware of, because without those organizations and without supporting those communities, we are not going to have a healthy community.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, family support services, mental health, domestic violence prevention, substance abuse treatment, and trauma recovery are vital for community well-being. What are your plans to increase funding for family service agencies, if so, and particularly those serving Black and underrepresented populations? And do you have plans to increase funding for Black-led organizations?
Considering the importance, of those type of organizations, and honestly, me having been a product of some of those, organizations, I understand the importance of needing the funding, right? It's clear, I think it's no secret, we understand that as far as the federal government's concerned, they attempted to freeze a lot of these fundings, a lot of the funding and the resources, right? And I think that's where, the relationships that, I've built already, with our state legislators, right, and the confidence that I have in our governor, to fight for us, from the state standpoint, to ensure that we have the resources needed to provide the funding for these organizations, I think is going to be vital, and that is something that I bring to the office on day one.
Mr. Williams, how do you hope to communicate effectively with city residents?
Yeah. Honestly, that's one of those things where it's not a matter of what I plan to do. It's going to be a continuation of what we've been, doing. Specifically over the last 2.5 years now, I announced my candidacy, on December 15, 2022. And the reason behind that was so that I could ensure that I earned the trust of the community, right? So that they could have an opportunity to know who I am, know the man, know the husband, know the father, know the county, public servant, and for them to be able to, by the time February 25th came, they knew exactly who they were getting, and so as far as, I'm concerned, it's going to be a continuation to ensure that I am in the faces of our community members, not just a select group, but every individual that calls Urbana home. We will ensure that we continue to build that relationship.
Thank you. Ms. Adams, how do you hope to communicate effectively with city residents?
I am a communications professional, and I'm sure, like a lot of you, have sometimes been a little frustrated with the communication that you receive from the city. The city has one full-time communicator who is currently doing both what you'd call internal communications and external communications. One thing that I would really like to have happen it would be emergency U alerts. And what that would do is it would send you informed, accurate, and on-time information that would tell you that there are emergencies in your neighborhood. It would tell you about city services. It would let you know when leaf pickup is happening. It would also let you know when street closures are happening. That would be one thing that I think would help the community be connected, and it would cut down on a lot of misinformation that is often shared among other people. That would just be one strategy. There are many more that I'd love to employ.
Thank you. Ms. Adams, how will you ensure transparency in your administration?
One thing I have found as a resident of this city is there's a lot of rumors. People will often start saying something, and as a person who's served on a commission or presented to the city or has been pretty involved in the city for the last 10 years, I'll just be like, that's not true. But people don't know it. They don't quite know how city works. They don't know how city government operates. They don't understand sort of the ticky-tackness of it. They don't know that, like, for example, like the Lincoln Avenue corridor study is literally just a study right now. And what's going to happen is after that study, we are going to have to go out and we're going to have to find funding. So it's going to be many years before we actually see the Lincoln corridor be fixed. But people start rumors, and it's not good. So one thing I would really like to make sure is that we're always transparent, we're clear, we're forthright, and we're communicating clearly what is going on and what your role is as a citizen.
How will you ensure transparency in your administration?
Sure, and I can appreciate what Annie said, even in that. It's one of those things where, again, folks that know me and folks who have worked with me, from the county, through the bank, know that, transparency is key, for me. And I ensure that takes place by, having open dialogue and communication, right? I ensure that I do that by not running from the tough conversations, right? I think one of my greatest strengths is being able to disagree with someone while still listening to them and understanding their concerns, and us figuring out middle ground to walk side by side to achieve what the goal is at hand. And I think that a lot of the community members, from what I've heard as I'm out talking to folks, is that they just simply want to understand what's taking place. They want to be heard, right? So for me, it's going to ensure that we bring everyone to the table before decisions are being made, before things are taking place, to ensure that everyone is fully aware of what's happening.
Mr. Williams, it costs on the order of $100,000 to train new policemen. How would you stop the steady stream of newly trained police officers from leaving the city of Urbana for Champaign, Savoy, Rantoul, and the university and other locations, and leaving Urbana short-staffed and demoralized?
Yeah, so, I think one of the things, and again, I've had, multiple conversations. I don't mean to keep bringing up the chief, and I apologize. But I will say I've had multiple conversations with him, right? And at the end of the day, we have to get the department and the staff, we have to get folks in general, not just the police department, but we have to get people excited to be back at work. Right, we have to get people excited to want to be a part of the Urbana Police Department or the Urbana City Council, the Urbana City staff, right? And that can only come with respect, right? And that starts at the top, right? So we are going to continue to work side by side with our police chief to ensure that his staff, his crew, are feeling valued and supported. At the same time, again, it goes back to that transparency piece. We have to get folks to understand the concerns and the struggles, right, on both ends, both the police department as well as what the community is feeling, and I think that bringing those two together is what will help take us to that next level.
Ms. Adams, it costs on the order of $100,000 to train new police people. How would you stop the steady stream of newly trained police officers from leaving the city of Urbana for Champaign, Savoy, Rantoul, the university, and other locations, leaving Urbana short-staffed and demoralized?
So I as well have had numerous conversations with the chief. He is wonderful to talk to. He is very supportive of his staff, and he has a lot of solutions. So it does cost $100,000 to train a police. It is over a year process before somebody can go out on the road by themselves to answer one of the 26,000 calls to service. We, since I've started running, have lost 5 to 6 officers, so we're losing them at a rapid pace. Our officers are interested in policing differently than the last generation policed. Our officers are interested in using new technologies to help them be more efficient and effective. Our officers also are interested in compensation. So there was just a presentation that was given at City Council where they shared the compensation that is happening at other communities. And this is one of the reasons why they will come here, we will train them, we will spend $100,000 of city resources, and then they will go to another space, which is not good because we need trained officers who have been here for multiple years.
And this is going to be the last question, then we're going on for closing. And I've observed Urbana, this is for Ms. Adams, I've observed Urbana struggling due to a lack of a comprehensive waste management program, and people in my neighborhood are burning trash in indoor fireplaces and even in fire pits in their front yards, releasing toxic fumes into the air we breathe and spreading toxic ash. And I believe the current system of private trash collection creates a serious problem. How would you prioritize the development of a comprehensive waste collection program that addresses the needs of all Urbana residents and promotes a cleaner, healthier community?
This has been on my want and to-do list since I moved here. The first house we lived in was a small house over by Huaraches. It was 700 square feet. We put the bedroom in the front room, and we had to move the bedroom from there. Why? Because of the trucks, the trash trucks coming with their blinky lights and their loud sounds. And when you're living in a small house like that, that is not a great thing. So what I'm really interested in, also, those trucks are some of the heaviest trucks on our roads. They're ripping up our streets. In addition, they're not very safe, and it's an old-timey system that we have. What I would like to move us towards would be one truck, one person driving the truck and one arm. And that's an automated arm that dumps the trash. I've talked to the Public Works, and they are working on trying to apply for a grant to start studying this and seeing if we can move towards it, because I'd also love if we could get composting thrown in there. So I am very excited about this, and I would love to see if we could make it happen.
Mr. Williams. I've observed Urbana struggling due to a lack of a comprehensive waste management program, which leads to people burning trash in indoor fireplaces and releasing toxic fumes into the air and toxic ash. And that the current system, I believe the current system of private trash collection creates a serious problem. How would you prioritize the development of a comprehensive waste collection program that addresses the needs of all Urbana residents and promotes a healthier community?
Sure. Yeah, that is definitely something that has come up, in conversations that I've had as well, with the Public Works Director. And truth of the matter is, I too get tired of the multiple trash trucks, garbage trucks, in and out of the streets, and having, trash cans on the sides of the lots almost every day, right? So, yes, I agree with the need to potentially decrease, the amounts of trucks, going up and down the streets, at any given time. I think it's a lot easier said than done, right? So, understanding that we will need to work directly, with our Public Works Department and ensure that we can come up with a comprehensive plan to, ensure that we're doing this the right way, so.
Thank you. So now we're going to go to closing statements. Each of you will have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and we're going to start with Ms. Adams.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I want to recognize the incredible efforts our educators, community leaders, and volunteers, neighborhood association, PTAs, sports, and arts boosters, Urbana Park District, the Urbana Free Library, the Rotary Club of Urbana, and so many others. You do so much to improve our city. I see you, and I'm ready to work with you to make Urbana an even better place for everyone. Urbana's at a pivotal moment. Our city is rich with amazing people, vibrant arts, and diverse cultures. But like many communities, we face challenges that demand unity and action. As the nation navigates uncertainty, we must remain steady, working together, coordinating with our neighbors, and staying true to our values while preserving the unique spirit that makes Urbana strong. We made it through the pandemic together. We will make it through this. We know how to do it. I'm running for mayor because I believe we can create a safe, affordable, and connected Urbana together. I have a plan. With responsible stewardship, we can create a safer Urbana by advancing equity and fully equipping the Urbana Police Department for community-focused policing. An affordable Urbana by growing city revenue, responsibly lowering property taxes, and expanding affordable housing. A more connected Urbana by repairing streets, adding crosswalks, and improving sidewalks. I've lived here for 10 years. I've done the work. Our youth are counting on us. Our small businesses are counting on us. Our neighbors are counting on us. And we must rise to meet that challenge. I humbly ask you for your vote on February 25th. Let's move Urbana forward together. Thank you.
Mr. Williams.
I again want to say thank you to the League of Women Voters, Ms. Trish, the NAACP, and the IMC for again bringing this forum to our community. Listen, through my community involvement, I've heard too many times from neighbors who feel forgotten by some of our political leaders. Their concerns are my concerns, and I'm committed to being a leader who mirrors the priorities of our residents. Tonight, I stand before you as a candidate for mayor of Urbana, because I believe my lifetime of experience is exactly what this city needs. Experience I will use to improve the lives of everyone who calls Urbana home. I will be a voice for the voiceless, and that will never stop. Before I close, again, I want to give a heartfelt thank you to my amazing wife, Tracy, our 2 wonderful children, Austin and Skylar. I love my family, so let's be very clear, right? To my parents, who are here with us tonight, who taught me to always reach for the moon, because even if you miss, you'll be amongst the stars. To my in-laws, to my family and friends, and to my team, thank you for showing me what love looks like and hard work looks like through their actions. and to the City of Urbana. Thank you for this opportunity to serve you all. And I look forward to working together to build a brighter future for each and every one of us. God bless you all. Have a great night.
Thanks again to the League of Women Voters of Champaign County. I'd like to also thank City of Urbana staff. They've been very helpful in the setup, and to Dr. Ruby Mendenhall, who started out our event with a unique Urbana flavor. Thanks to the NAACP and the IMC, and to our candidates for coming. Again, the recording can be found on votechampaign.org and the League's YouTube channel and on UPTV. Special thanks to artist James and Ralph Trimble for timing. And just a reminder, it's not too late to register and vote. You can register all the way up to Election Day and vote that day. Information is available on the League's website and the County Clerk's website, and so please vote. Thank you.